that Colorado game just literally broke them. I don't know what the fuck they can do. Like it's clearly a mental thing. Like, they keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again.
Welcome back to another episode, ladies and gents. I'm Zach, joined as always by Preston. We have some breaking news that happened a half an hour ago. Kaapo Kakko finally gets traded, but he goes to Seattle for Will Borgen. There's a couple draft picks involved, but the two main topics, I guess, people of interest are Will Borgen and Kaapo Kakko. They basically get sent for each other. And I love this trade for both teams, to be honest with you. Seattle needed a young guy like Kaapo Kakko. Kaapo Kakko has voiced his frustrations earlier this week after Laviolette ended up scratching him. And he said that he wasn't the worst on the ice, yada, yada, yada. And then now Will Borgen, who's just buried on the third pair with Riker Evans in Seattle, goes to a Rangers team, and I think they could use a guy like Will Borgen, a guy who they're not going to need to ask to log so many minutes, but can slide in, maybe play some second pair minutes if he needs to, and he's going to be in an overall better situation. Both guys, I think, are going to have expanded roles on these new teams they just got traded to.
Yeah, I think on Seattle's end, I think you view it from a prospect of, I mean, Will Borgen is not having a great year. You said he was kind of buried on the third pair, but he is more of a defensive defenseman type
Yes.
of player, which I think does fit what the Rangers need, especially after trading away Jacob Trouba, who wasn't that great defensively. I'll get to a little bit more on Trouba later on. I want to say something about him, but
Got it.
I mean, with Seattle, you're buying low on a former second overall pick who was in a bad situation. You know, I still think he has a ton of potential. I don't think it was ever gonna. I don't think it was gonna work in New York, especially with him getting buried in the lineup. He's getting frustrated with coaches' decisions about scratching. I don't really think he's in a place to succeed right now, and I think the best thing for him was to get out of New York. Just go, especially go to a low key team like Seattle. Like, don't really have any expectations this year. They kind of just exist, but he can go and find his game, start having fun again. And Seattle's gonna play him. Like they need forwards. That's still their issue is scoring.
I mean, listen, Seattle's top 9 is not as bad as how they're playing right now. Like, listen, throw in Kaapo Kakko next to Shane Wright, who Shane Wright's having, I think, a phenomenal season from that standpoint. His underlying analytics is out of this world. I'll look them up for you guys in a second. But, like, Kaapo Kakko, listen, he's not. I know his baseline stats are not there, and he's not where a second overall pick should be, and he hasn't turned out like how you thought maybe Alexi Lafreniere would, where Lafreniere was a late bloomer. He finally got a chance with Laviolette and took off. Kaapo Kakko hasn't done shit, to be honest with you. But, I mean, in the 49th offensive percentile, could be better, could be worse, but about right around average. And then his defensive percentile, 59th in the NHL, which, again, from Kaapo Kakko's standpoint, I get the Rangers want him to produce, but when you're sticking Kaapo Kakko with guys like Riley Smith, Jimmy Vesey, and then throwing him on the fourth line with Edstrom, Carrick, Brodzinski, like, he's not going to have a chance to succeed. I know the Rangers before. I know when Gallant was there. He tried him on the power play multiple times, but Kakko just hasn't worked in New York. I think maybe the spotlight was a little too much, and like, it goes for the same thing like Kakko and Lafreniere. It's like the team, when the Rangers got Kakko, like, sure, I believe Lafreniere was the whole, like, bubble thing and everything. And Kakko, I think the Rangers were actually bad when they got Kakko second overall, right?
No, they won the draft lottery, move up to 2 to get him. I don't think
Okay.
they weren't great, but they weren't that bad.
But, like, it's the same situation. It's like he just never had a chance to just go out and play hockey. And
It
I
was a
think
2018 draft, right?
yeah,
It was a 2019.
he was right by. No, it was 2018. He was right behind Jack Hughes, I think.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the standings from that year. So, no, it couldn't have been 2018. It had to have been 2019.
No, yeah.
Just because New Jersey came at third last. The Rangers came in sixth. They came at 26. So the Rangers moved up 5 spots to 2. So they did win the lottery, and New Jersey moved up 2 spots to 1 to get Jack Hughes. Ottawa lost the draft lottery.
Why did I think no? 2018 was Dolly, and I'm a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Yes. And going back to Kakko and Wright playing together, if Seattle puts these two together, I think Wright will help elevate Kakko's game offensively specifically. Wright has almost no defense to his game in the 18th percentile. Now, you're not asking him to go out and play defense. Like, that's not who he is. He's a playmaking third line, second line forward, top 9 forward, and his offensive percentile is in the 80th percentile. So,
I mean, I think Shane Wright has first line upside. I mean, he's still very young as well. This is his first. It's going to be his first full season in the NHL, so he still has a lot of space to grow.
and if Shane Wright keeps playing like this, your top 3 are Beniers, Stevenson, and Shane Wright for the next 7+ years. Because Matty Beniers coming off fresh off an extension, Stevenson 7-year contract via free agency. Now you have Wright, who, if he keeps playing like how he is, he's going to eventually earn himself a 7 to 8 year deal too from Seattle. So to have these 3 as your top 3 centermen, if everything works out with Wright, I think you're in a great spot down the middle, personally. And then,
And
go ahead.
yeah, and then on the Rangers side of it, I think they got a pretty decent return, all things considered, especially with the relationship with Kakko seemed kind of done. Both sides, I think it was best case for both sides just to move on and start fresh. And they get a defensive defenseman that they need. The thing I want to bring up with Jacob Trouba is a lot of people forget because he was in Winnipeg for a while before he got traded to the Rangers. He was more of a puck-moving offensive defenseman, and the Rangers asked him to change his game and play a more defensive type of game. And I really don't think that fits him that well. Yeah, I know he has the big hits, but I think Jacob Trouba was at his best when he was involved in the play. Just looking at his stats in Winnipeg, his last year in Winnipeg, he had 50 points. He had 42 assists. He never got close to that again. His next closest was his third year in New York. He had 28. He had 40 points. And over time, they especially now with Peter Laviolette, he asks a lot out of their defensemen to play a more of a defensive game. I think you kind of see that with Keandre Miller as well. I think that's another defenseman that has a lot of offensive upside that I think isn't really reaching his ceiling right now.
We saw. Hold on, is Keandre Miller hurt right now?
He might
He's on
be.
IR. Yeah, okay. I didn't even realize he's on IR. I was wondering why he wasn't here in the lineup. Yeah, Keandre Miller's on IR. That's besides the point, though. I was just curious. Yeah, with Keandre Miller, we've seen it. I think his first season was his best season in the NHL offensively.
It was his third season. He had 43 points.
Okay.
That was the last year with Gerard Gallant.
I can't believe he's already been in the NHL for what? He's going.
This is his fifth year. Yeah,
Dude,
he's played 28 games this year. He's 6 points.
It feels like just yesterday we were talking about him being like a rookie, like this guy with high offensive upside on the blue line pairing with Adam Fox, whatever. And listen, well, I get Laviolette has a certain coaching style in the way that the Rangers are playing. I'm gonna ask you this: if you're Chris Drury, and you're the front office of the Rangers, and right now they're sitting 3 points out of a playoff spot. Right now, they're on pace for 82 points. They have 31 points in 31 games, 15-15-1 record. If this keeps continuing, do you fire Peter Laviolette and bring in somebody else, or at least get an interim from inside the organization?
See, that's tough. I mean, I think some of it also falls on Chris Drury as well, especially with the way he's kind of handled these last few weeks with the team seemingly falling apart. Saying openly that the New York Rangers are open for business, and really anyone was available, probably except for Igor Shesterkin and probably Lafreniere for the right price. The way I think they moved on from their captain was a little disrespectful. We talked about that last week. But I think there's way more pressure on Chris Drury to figure this out than Peter Laviolette. Peter Laviolette's a good coach. They won the President's Trophy last year. And Chris Drury felt like he didn't really need to change much going into this season. They pretty much brought back the same team they had last year. I mean, they brought in Riley Smith and some bottom 6 guys, but for the most part, it's the same team.
I don't blame Chris Drury for doing that. You're seeing what happened last season, and you could make the argument that seeing what the Rangers did in the playoffs. Now I get. You made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. That was Igor Shesterkin all the way. You didn't have your stars performing at a high level consistently throughout the playoffs. You had one night maybe Panarin would look good. The next night it was Chris Kreider. You never got all of them consistently getting production in the playoffs. There's always just Igor Shesterkin.
That playoff run to me kind of put the writing on the wall. I think it was a little bit of a preview for this year's. Their stars haven't been good this year
outside
of Panarin, who's injured right now. Sabinajad's not having a great year by his standard. Trocheck is having a big down year compared to last year. Chris Kreider's been up and down. Adam Fox, I mean, he's not really a goal scorer. He has 1 goal this year, but I mean, even by his games, he's taken a step back. He's usually a point per game player, just around right down there, and he has 25 points in
The
31 games. Like
the
still
I
good, but
like
not up to his standard.
the thing with Adam Fox is I don't think he like you have a good point where it's not up to his standard because I'm going to bring up his underlying numbers from last season. He was in the
Oh, he's a great
he was
defenseman. Yeah, I'm
last
not trying to
season.
say he's not
Oh,
great.
I know that. I know that. I'm trying to explain to like the people like what you're trying to get across because there could already be some Rangers fans saying, "Oh, Adam Fox wasn't having a bad season." Like Adam Fox is having a down season compared to what we're used to seeing from him
Hmm.
because last season he was in the 99th percentile in overall play, 98th offense, 96th defense. This season he's only in the 90th, if it'll load, 90th percentile in overall,
Only the
82 in
90th.
offense, 90th defense. Exactly, only 90th for his
This
like
is a Norris winning defenseman,
right.
so we expect greatness out of him. And when your great players aren't playing up to their standard, that affects the whole roster.
It does. And like all of his numbers are great. But like I get he's having a good season compared to most guys in the league. But like when Panarin is out right now and Keandre Miller's currently on
Other
IR.
guys need to step up.
Right, and you're not getting anything from Trocheck, Zibanejad, Kreider. Like those are the three guys that you expect to really come in and not dominate, but like be good. You
Well,
know,
no,
you don't.
they're your top six. That's what they're supposed. They're your goal scorers. That's what they're supposed to do.
And when they're not scoring, you can only ask so much out of Igor Shesterkin, who got off to a rocky start this season too.
Yeah, I mean, he's not having a great season either by his standard.
No,
I mean,
he's
he's
not.
still a great goalie, but like I really want to drive this point home. When your stars aren't at that level you expect them to be, it really does affect the whole team if other guys don't step up. Yeah, you Panarin is going to have a bad game every now and again. They're not robots. They make mistakes.
They're
They're
human.
humans. Like everyone has a down night every once in a while, unless you're the Sabres. Every night's a down night for the Sabres. But you need other guys to step up, and I think that depth is also not stepping up where they need to be.
Yeah, nobody on this Rangers team is stepping up right now, and it's a
And
cause for
I
concern.
think it's indicative of the coach and the general manager, and I think Drury is understanding now that he needs to make changes, but it might be too little, too late.
Yeah, I think the Rangers should move on from Laviolette if this keeps continuing. But at the same time, going back to Drury, it's like you didn't need to call out the team publicly saying that they're
Well,
open for
they got
business.
shut out by the Predators last night.
That's fucking sad. To be
Yeah, I
honest with
mean,
you, like if you're Drury, you have to have a meeting with the players or the front office, whatever. Mainly the players, and do a private meeting with them. Like dig into them a little bit. Say like nobody's safe in private. Don't come out on a press conference or whatever. Come out publicly saying, "Yeah, we're open for business."
but I think that may be his way of putting pressure on the players to perform better. I mean, New York's a desirable destination. The
Yeah.
players know how great it can be when they're winning, and they know how bad it could suck when they lose. The New York media is relentless, especially because the Jets and the Giants are so bad. A little bit of a spotlight gets put more on the better teams, and the Rangers won the President's Trophy last year. They were expected to be Cup contenders this year
Yes.
again, and when you're not living up to that standard, the walls come crumbling down really fast. I think the Rangers still have time to turn it around. Like I'm not saying their season is dead. And maybe these couple of moves, maybe they'll motivate them to start playing better. But if the results have to start coming on the ice, or they might need a new coach and a new GM next year.
It's crazy because all it takes is to string together 3, 4, 5 straight wins. You're back. Like you're legitimately back in the
I mean,
Rangers.
they're still 500 right now. Like their season is by no means dead in the
No,
water.
it's
They
not.
they,
But
they could still salvage this.
but when I'm pretty sure they started. Didn't they start the season like 12-4-1 or
They were
something like
really
that?
good to start the season.
They
Yeah,
had a
I mean,
first.
Shesterkin was playing out of his mind
They
too.
had a bad first like 4 or 5 games, and then for like the next 10 game stretch, they were
Then they lost like
ridiculous.
one game or something like that.
And
Yeah.
then it just all took it. Going from one New York team to another New York team, but this time in West New York. If you want to take us to your Buffalo Sabres rant, part 2, mind you.
I watched about 5 minutes of the Sabres game yesterday. I was eating dinner. I was like, fuck it. I might as well put it on. I put it on. It's already 1-0 Montreal. They scored a goal 19 seconds into the game off, I think it was a Owen Power turnover. I don't know what's wrong with
It
him.
well, it wasn't that okay? I'm not gonna completely stick up for him. It was a shot that went wide. It hit. I think it hit off the end boards, hit off of Owen Power's skate, and whoever scored it first, I think it was Joel Armia, just wide
Yeah.
open net. Nobody was even close to him.
Well, the second goal, Laine had a hat trick last night.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 goals on the power play, scored all 3 goals pretty much from the same spot on the ice.
Yep.
Which tells me coaching isn't really helping them get ready, but that also tells me lack of awareness from the Sabres players. But the second goal they scored, Laine's first of the night. They were on a power play, and they had the Montreal's had the puck in the corner, and they were kind of, I don't remember all everyone who was out there. I know Connor Clifton was out on the ice, and Montreal, like, they were battling for the puck in the corner. You have like 3 Sabres players, one's in the corner, and the other 2 are kind of forming a perimeter around him in case the puck gets loose. And Connor Clifton is the odd man out, and he's in front of the net. And they showed they shouldn't have showed this replay. They did Connor Clifton dirty.
Mm-hmm.
So Clifton's looking at Laine to his right. He looks at the corner, looks at Laine, looks at the corner. He sees the puck move up the wall a little bit, and he decides, okay, I'm going to move down to the corner. And as soon as that happens, Nick Suzuki looks over. He sees Laine wide open in the slot. It's in the back of your net. Like, what are you doing?
I think Connor Clifton deep down knew he should have been with Patrick Laine. I think I'm not going to defend him because I think there should always be somebody monitoring Patrick Laine at all times.
You have 3 guys in one area. You need to cover that odd man in front of you. You're already shorthanded.
I think Clifton was, and he was already put in a tough situation because you should, on the penalty kill, you should not have 3 guys in the right circle just around the puck area at all, no matter what. And I think Clifton was in that spot of he doesn't want to leave the middle of the ice wide open for somebody.
But he did leave it open.
Well, no. But like, he doesn't want to leave the middle of the ice open, but he also doesn't want to leave Laine. And chances are, listen, I think you need to have somebody not up Laine's ass per se, but somebody at least to be in distance of him. So if he gets the puck, you can at least be like a stick length away from him, whatever, right? Like,
well, a counter argument to that is, like, look at when the Sabres power play is horrific because they don't even get the puck in the zone. But when they do get the puck in the zone, watch what the other team does. They have a guy on Tage Thompson the whole time.
Yes, and then you want to know what they always pressure the Sabres puck carrier, but they make sure it's no more than 2 guys max, and they always have somebody, a guy on Tage Thompson, and always somebody making sure if there's a shot that gets low on their goaltender that there's no huge rebound for the Sabres to tap in. And like, it's not there. Don't the Sabres just watch their own fucking power play for a penalty kill and understand to do that? Like, going into the game, you have to understand Patrick Laine is a threat from the left dot no matter what. Left circle in general.
So he's a threat from anywhere. He's one of the best shots in the league.
And then on top of it, it happens on the first goal, whatever, shake it off. But to have it happen 2 more times throughout the game, not even the end of the second period it happened, mind you. You had a hat trick about 5 minutes left in the second period, too. Like, what the fuck are we doing?
I mean, I don't even know what to say about this team. I mean, I don't know if anyone watching has heard Lindy Ruff the last couple games after the game. This man has coached the 4th most games out of any coach in NHL history. He's seen pretty much everything you can see. He's been in the Stanley Cup final. He's been on he's coached one of the worst teams in the league. He's been everywhere you could possibly be. And he said, I've never dealt with anything like this before. I genuinely do not know what to do.
It's a mental thing. That's all it is. That's what he's saying. It's a mental, didn't he say that it was a mental block or something like that?
I don't know. It's just watching them. It looks like they don't give a shit. Like, they don't have any effort. Like, they look like they're just playing. I don't understand what happened. Because a month ago, they're in a playoff. They're 3rd place in the division. They come off a California road trip. They sweep it. They come back from behind in all of those games to win it. They look really great. They come back home, play a really strong game against a really strong Minnesota team. I know they lost 1-0, but Gustafsson stood on his head. And after that, it's just like that Colorado game just literally broke them. I don't know what the fuck they can do. Like, it's clearly a mental thing. Like, they keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again. Like, I don't know how you correct this. Like, you can't trade everybody. Like, you're not trading Owen Power. He's been horrible. I genuinely don't know what the fix is for this.
This is so. Per Elliot Friedman and Jeff Merrick and David Pagnotta, every NHL insider, the Sabres are getting multiple trade offers from multiple teams about You have Dylan Cousins, Bowen Byram, Owen Power, Jack Quinn. Like other teams, there's 31
I'd
other
say
teams.
the only player probably not available in a trade is Rasmus Dahlin. That's
Yes,
probably
I
it.
agree. And you have 31 other teams calling about those players. It's clearly not a players issue. Like there's teams that want these players, multiple teams that want these players, and like you had like Vancouver and I saw a report that came out today that maybe it was for David Pagnotta that the Canucks and Sabres are engaged in trade talks regarding Bowen Byram. Like that, like I know Dylan, like Sabres aren't going to trade Dylan Cousins. They're not going to trade Owen Power. Like the Sabres, they cannot make a reactionary trade. Like I know the Sabres aren't even countering offers right now from calls they're getting because I bet you the counter offers it's gonna be the offers Adams is gonna give. Let's use Dylan Cousins for example, right? Let's say I don't know a wild call about Dylan Cousins, first team that popped up in my head. We'll do a B level prospect, a second round pick, and maybe a second pair defenseman or third pair defenseman for a guy they're going to try to buy low on Cousins. And you want to know what's going to happen? This motherfucker Cousins, who's making $7.5 million, is going to go into an organization that understands what it takes to win, and he's going to be an electric player. It's an organizational problem. Like, I get you have to put the blame on players at some point, but at the end of the day, the number one blame is Terry Pegula because that motherfucker has 23 to 26-year-olds making $7+ million. And if you tell those son of a bitches that their jobs are completely safe when they're in their mid-20s making millions of dollars, guess what? They're not going to give a shit. They'll be like, I'm getting my paycheck.
That tells me a lot about their character then, because you're a professional athlete. I don't care if you're making millions of dollars. You need to put your best effort every night. And the thing I've been hearing about the Sabres, specifically because is they're terrified to trade him because they're afraid that he's going to end up like Eichel or Reinhart. Which, mind you, Eichel and Reinhart were good when they were here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know what it is about the Sabres. Is like, look back at some of the rosters they had the last few years, especially going into that 2020 season. They had Jack Eichel, Sam Reinhart, Brandon Montour, Taylor Hall, Dahlin. They had fucking Linus Ullmark. Like, look, they move these players. They win fucking Stanley Cups. Linus Ullmark wins a Vezina trophy. Like, they've had good players. It's just, why doesn't anything work here? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, why can't a player be good here? Like, I don't get it.
It makes zero sense, logical sense to me. I really wish it was as simple as pointing up one easy fix, and I don't think we're gonna get an easy fix until truly this team is.
This is the whole organization, and I can't fault any player not wanting to come to Buffalo. Why would you? You have probably the worst run organization in the league. You know, now that Arizona no longer has a team, they were probably number one because they didn't have an arena to play in. That was the only reason they're number one. They're a more competitive roster than the Sabres right now. But they have the smallest scouting department in the league, so they don't have a lot to work with. Yeah, it's a small market. I get it's not a desirable location to live. But the thing is, most players don't care if you're winning and you have a good winning culture, and players can go there and they're confident that they can help you succeed and that the team will succeed. It doesn't matter. You can look at Winnipeg. They're in the middle of fucking nowhere. They are the smallest market in the NHL, and Canadian taxes are crazy. They don't have really I'm sure they have problems here and there getting like a huge star player, but they draft well, they develop their players, and they make trades, and they're not on no trade list, so they have no problem really bringing guys in. I can't fault a player for not wanting it. Why would you want to come to Buffalo? Like,
the thing
it's easy to tell.
The thing with Buffalo is like the excuse of like what Adam said in his press conference about we don't have palm trees, we have taxes, whatever, and like
that's ridiculous.
First off, that's ridiculous. But second off, when the Sabres first came out of I think they were going into their like first full rebuild or whatever. Murray was the Sabres GM, whatever. I get he tried to buy his way and trade his way out of a rebuild, which Clearly, it didn't work. But you notice that players wanted to go there, right? And then the rebuild happens where you tank, you get Reinhardt second overall, you get Eichel, you trade for Ryan O'Reilly, right? And then now you are able to sign players. The one of the biggest fish in the 2020 offseason, Taylor Hall. You get him. And the whole thing, what pissed me off the most is when he mentioned the Bills, it was like, oh, you need a superstar, talent, whatever. You had fucking Jack Eichel and you fumbled the bag. You all because you didn't let
getting
him.
back to that point about the Bills, like, yeah, no one wanted to play for the Buffalo Bills for a super long time, and it wasn't because it was Buffalo and it like bad weather, a lot of snow. New York State taxes, they suck. Why would anyone want to play for a shitty team unless you're offering them like $20 million more than they're worth? Why would they even look your way?
Exactly.
They draft Josh Allen. Josh Allen was a project player. Like,
yes.
Eichel came in, he immediately played in the NHL, and he was good right away. And Buffalo had a reputation in the NHL for a very long time of being an organization a lot of players had no problems going to.
I will give the audience and the viewers and listeners whatever a tidbit here. Before this 13 going on 14-year playoff drought, the Sabres from 1970 to 2011 missed the playoffs. It was either 7 or 9 times in their entire franchise, and they killed that just in a 14-year span. And going back to the Bills, Josh Allen was not supposed to start his first year. He only
had to because they had nobody else. But
exactly.
you go in, you develop your quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
You become good. You build a really great culture. Like, I can't remember how many guys, like, especially before Josh Allen had his breakout season in 2020, like when they signed Cole Beasley, and guys are like, I had no idea this place was this nice. Like, the coaching staff is amazing. The training facility is amazing. Like, why wouldn't I want to be here? They're going to put me in the best spot I can to succeed. And that's how it starts. Yeah, it helps a lot if you have a star player. But if players see you developing those younger players and they're staying on that trajectory, players are happy there. They're having fun. You have really good coaching staff, good management staff, and everyone, you promote this really great culture. It drives people to want to play for you. Like, look at the Bills. Like, yeah, I get having one of the best players in the league helps. Players are going to come to your team because they know they can win a Super Bowl. But players they like staying there. And you have Kevin Adams on the other hand saying, well, we don't have a star player. You had fucking Jack Eichel. You had Sam Reinhart. You had a Vezina winning goalie. They had Linus Ullmark. You had freaking Robin Leonard left Buffalo. He was really good. Ryan O'Reilly won the Stanley Cup his first year out of Buffalo. Won the Conn Smythe. He's like, a year ago, he literally said, a year ago, I didn't love hockey. The Buffalo Sabres made him hate the game of hockey. The game he chased his whole life to play professionally at the highest level, and he didn't like it anymore because that's how badly that was 10 years ago.
Yep.
And it still hasn't changed.
It's an organization thing. I don't blame players anymore. I legitimately like I don't blame the players now.
I mean, I think some of the blame is on the players right now because they look like they don't give a fuck. Like, if you look at the Sabres roster on paper, it's not that bad of a team. Like, I know it's young, but Tage Thompson's really good. You have Rasmus Dahlin, Owen Power, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen has been a really good goaltender this season. You have you have Jason Zucker, who's been a really good vet. Alex Tuck. Like, this on paper, this isn't really that bad of a team, but they're not playing as a team. They don't give a shit. I don't understand how broken this team is. Like, I don't even know how you fix this.
I wish
it starts with firing Kevin Adams. I believe it starts with that.
Oh, it does. You need a GM that knows what they're doing. And another thing is that Terry Pegula, outside of Murray, has never hired a GM that has had experience. Every time he's hired one outside of Murray, it's always been their first GM stint.
Well, I think Tim Murray, that was his first time being a GM.
Was it really?
He was an assistant for a while in Ottawa, but that was his first time being a
then
GM.
Every GM he's hired, it's been first time.
Well, yeah, and I remember when he came in and he hired Pat LaFontaine to be the president of hockey operations. That lasted about 6 months before he quit.
It was May of 2014 or something like that. He resigned.
You're fracturing relationships with some of your franchise's greatest players. Yeah, I remember that whole thing, like during their 50th anniversary, and they were giving the alumni like fake jerseys, and they were spelling their names wrong. Like, that speaks volumes. Like, if players see this, they see how you treat your alumni and your current players, and they remember that. When they get a call from Buffalo in the summer, they probably won't even answer. It's like, why would I want to go there?
Yep. It's frustrating, and it's crazy that this team could have been out of a drought after 2019,
Like, how do
2020.
you not accidentally be good once? Like, look, even like in the NFL, like the Jacksonville Jaguars, one of the biggest jokes of an organization in the NFL. They even made the playoffs a couple of fucking times.
2018 and 2022. 2017 and 2022. They were good. They made the playoffs. 2017, they were carried by their defense, but they still got to the AFC Championship, and they had a 10-point lead going into the fourth quarter.
And then they were immediately dog shit again the next year.
Exactly. Like, you just what like it's the same thing. Like, I'm a Seattle Mariners fan. Like, they had a 20-year playoff drought. I never saw them in the playoffs. They made the playoffs in 2022, and I was like, listen, I'm just happy to be here. They even won a playoff series, and then in the ALDS against their rival Astros, they were up 7-0 after 4 innings, and then they got swept in the ALDS, but they had a lead, and they lost that game and got walked off, whatever, in Game 1 and Game
Have they made the playoffs since
3.
then?
They haven't, but I'm just happy I was able to. They were good once. They've been mediocre ever since. Like, can I just have that for the Sabres? Just accidentally make the playoffs once.
And Buffalo's a really strong hockey market. I
Mhm.
know I think it might be the second smallest, second or third. Utah might be smaller than Buffalo. I'm not sure how big Salt Lake City is.
Not gonna
I know
lie,
Winnipeg. I know Winnipeg is the smallest market.
I think Utah is bigger. Salt Lake City is bigger than Buffalo.
I don't know. I really don't know geography of Utah very well. I don't know the population
Fair
of Utah.
enough.
But they are a new team too. So, but
Yeah.
like, there's a whole generation of people in Buffalo that the Sabres have been bad their whole lives, and they don't even care.
Mhm.
They don't care about the Sabres. You're like literally ruining one of the most storied like hockey markets in the NHL. Thank you, Terry Pegula.
20 years ago, it was not 20 years ago. It was, I think, 2009, 2010, whatever. There were over 17,000 people watching a prospects challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Now you first off, now you have it in the Harbor Center, and second, you have a good 2,000 people show up, if that.
But they used to sell like the team scrimmage.
This,
It was standing room only. I remember going to that when I was a kid. When I was a kid, the Sabres were really good. That's when they had Danny Briere and Chris Drury and Ryan Miller all in their primes, and they went back to the conference finals. Like, so my age group, like literally almost every kid my age played hockey. Like, it was. I remember going to tryouts for teams. There'd be like they had to turn away people because we couldn't fit them all on the ice. And now there's a lot of a lot of organizations that don't have many teams because they can't field teams because there's not that many kids here that give a shit enough.
yeah.
And when you having a good hockey team matters for that because they see like Jack Eichel play and he's really great, and it inspires people to want to keep playing. I remember a few years ago, I still volunteer coaching every once in a while. I was working with it was like 6, 7, 8-year-old mites playing hockey, and I was going around. I was trying to get them talking and everything. I was like, "Oh, who's your favorite Sabres player?" And they didn't even know him.
It's sad, and like at least when we had Jack Eichel, there was a reason to watch Sabres games because he was even if the Sabres would lose, he was electrifying.
I remember what his rookie year, that one goal he scored against Columbus. I was like so hyped. Like, I don't know if you remember this. He held onto the puck his own for like 30 seconds. Like, Columbus was trying to skate the puck out of the zone. I still remember this vividly. He came up, pickpocketed the guy, kept it in the blue line by like this much, walked around, just completely sniped Bobrovsky. It was like sick. The crowd went crazy. And like, people in Buffalo care about hockey, but I can't blame people for not caring about the Sabres anymore.
At least when the Sabres had Eichel and O'Reilly and Reinhart, you had guys on the team that were passionate about hockey. Now, granted, like Ryan O'Reilly,
Well, it's how you ruin their love for hockey.
Right. It's like I get it was hard for them to stay in love with the game of hockey, but at least they were passionate. Like, people would bash this motherfucker Jack Eichel for, I don't want to say showing passion because that's what like we really want to see out of these players, but constantly he would, after every loss at one point, empty net goal he was on the ice for because he'd always be like the extra attacker on the ice if we needed a goal, if we're down by a goal, whatever, smashing his stick on the goalpost, and everybody was
that's
like,
how you should be.
And then people are praising Rasmus Dahlin for doing it now. It's like we got to stop with this whole like this.
You should be pissed when you lose. It shows that you care.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating, really.
I don't know. We've talked about the Sabres long enough.
Want to move on from them?
I mean, hopefully they win a game by our next episode. I doubt it, but
I
You
mean, they
never
play
know.
Friday night against Toronto in
Yeah,
Buffalo.
it'll be a Toronto
80.
home
It
game,
will
so
be. I want to stick in the Eastern Conference, in the same division actually, with the Ottawa Senators. They're on a heater. They're 7-2-1 in their last 10. They've won 4 straight games. Linus Ullmark in his last 6 games has 2 shutouts. He's 6-0 with the goals against average of 0.82. This is the goaltender the Ottawa Senators wanted to trade for, and they fucking got him. And he's looking phenomenal this season in this stretch. They're getting production out of Brady Tkachuk,
former Sabre.
Stutzla, and Drake Batherson. Drake Batherson is on the ice. He's healthy. He looks absolutely great for this team.
Yeah, especially I think like I mentioned this. We were talking about this a little bit before we started recording with like the Rangers kind of going on a free fall. I think that opened up a lane for Ottawa to potentially have a path to make the playoffs. I mean, Allmark's playing out of his mind right now. We'll see how long that keeps going. I think that might be elevating this team a little bit right now, but that's what you brought him in for. And I think when you have a goalie that's playing out of his mind, that gives the rest of the team confidence, and that could lead to them playing better. It's amazing what having a good goalie can do for your group.
Listen, Drake Batherson last season, no, not last season. Yeah, last season. So the last 2 seasons, he's been healthy. He's played all 82 games.
Mm-hmm.
In 22-23, 62 points, 23-24, 66. And right now he's on pace to shatter career highs in quite literally everything. And going back to Linus Ullmark, trading for him right before July 1st, and then signing him to a 4-year extension, huge move. Huge move. Ottawa is... All they needed was a competent goaltender. Korpisalo and Anton Forsberg were not the best for them. They're actually some of the worst goaltending.
They were awful. They probably had the worst goaltending tandem in the league last year.
And now you bring in Allmark, and the team looks better. They look rejuvenated. They look like they actually trust everybody now. They're playing as a team, and that's what's key. They're playing as a team.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a goalie, you can trust. It makes you play looser. It makes you play freer. You're having more fun because you can rely on your goal. Like if you make a mistake, he can bail you out, and that goes a long, long way. Especially for a young team like Ottawa, they've kind of been in a perpetual rebuild for years. Like they've kind of been grouped together with like Detroit and Buffalo, and it looks like it's their turn to pull away from the pack and miss the playoffs by a point this year. So
I don't know. With how the Rangers are playing, maybe they'll get into that second spot.
I mean, like I said with the Rangers, there's still plenty of time for them to catch up. I mean, Pittsburgh's been playing really well. Philly is also in that conversation. I mean, this also pisses me off as a Sabres fan because this is a golden opportunity in the Eastern Conference to make the playoffs because the wild card, even like a Tampa Bay, should be a playoff team. They've only played 29 games, so they have the first wild card spot. But like that second wild card spot's up for whoever wants it.
It's wide open. Like,
I mean, you got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams within 5 points of the last spot.
and then you have Detroit, who's could potentially go on a heater as well, who sits at 28 points in 30 games. I mean, they're 4-4-2 in their last 10 won back-to-back games. So I mean, we'll see with them. And right now, personally, I know I don't want to disrespect the Blue Jackets. I think they're slowly starting to fall. They're 2-6-2 in their last 10. I think the only 3 teams as of right now who don't have a legitimate shot to make the playoffs: Columbus, Montreal, and Buffalo.
I agree with you, yeah.
And if we're talking about if the Rangers are opening it up this playoff spot, whatever, I think it's.
I might throw the Islanders in there too. They haven't been they've been playing pretty bad.
Yeah,
lately,
they've been skidding. I don't know about the Islanders. I can kind of see it. I think they're just gonna linger around just a little bit longer.
I think it'd be better for them for the long term to not make the playoffs instead of this perpetual like we're gonna make the playoffs every year, get bounced in the first round like they have been the last few years. I think having a higher draft pick would do them well.
I think it'd benefit them so much. And Lou Lamoriello is refusing to fucking tear that team down. I kind of feel for Islanders fans in that aspect. Whatever.
I mean, he is one of the most respected GMs in NHL history. Don't forget. So
yeah,
I mean, he does know what he's doing.
Okay.
I know he's getting old, but
I'm not saying that he doesn't know what he's doing.
I mean, this Islanders team, even if they made the playoffs, they're getting bounced.
They're getting bounced in the first round by anybody. I think anybody that's in the playoffs right now, they're bouncing in. Tampa Bay and up. But going back to like Ottawa and like being, I think this is Ottawa's playoff spot to lose. As of right now, it's Ottawa's to lose. Like now, they're not gonna get cracked out Linus Ullmark the rest of the season. But I mean
he's had seasons better than this.
Yeah, but like I'm okay. By cracked out, I'm not under a one goals
Yeah,
against
yes, the
average.
Ottawa Senators decor is not the 2022-23 Boston Bruins decor. We
But
understand
it's
that.
still good though.
It's okay.
I think it's better than what a lot of people thought coming into the season because
Yeah, let me look at their lineup. So, I mean, I like Jake Sanderson a lot.
he's a
I mean,
absolute beauty.
he's still young. He's having a bit of a rougher season this year. He's in minus 13, 16 points in 31 games. Shabbat, not bad. I mean, their defensive core isn't really. It's pretty old. The
It's
Tyler Clevin, who's a young player. I mean, Nick Jensen, 34. Travis Hamonic. I didn't even know he was still in the league. I mean, they got some work to do to kind of rebuild the defensive core. This is a team I could potentially see maybe adding at the deadline.
holy shit. So first off, okay, Nick Jensen having a great season offensively, defensively not there. This blue line is based around puck moving defensemen galore.
Hmm.
Jake Sanderson, okay, I
Which
love
is
you.
why they needed Allmark.
Exactly, I love you, Jake Sanderson. Okay, what the fuck am I looking at right now?
Are you looking at this
33rd
chart?
percentile overall. You're supposed to be a puck moving defenseman, offensive defenseman, 20th percentile in offense and 37 in defense. You're at your
Yeah.
I mean, his power play offensive numbers goes above replacement, pretty good. His expected goes above replacement good, and his defense is basically almost has zero. But what really brings everything down, his even strength offense goes above replacement is negative 11. That's rough. But that just really caught me off guard, to be honest. I didn't expect it to be that bad. Goddamn, but I think yeah,
Yeah.
goaltending was the only thing that was really holding this team back, holding it back, and now we're here.
I mean, I still think they got some work to do. I mean, if they want to be competitive in the playoffs going forward, I still think they need to add a few. I'm not super familiar with their prospect school, so I'm sure Ottawa fans are telling us we're fucking idiots right now.
That we're
Which
forgetting somebody that's
we
tearing up
are
the AHL.
idiots, but I'm sorry, I don't know every team's farm system extremely well. I am an idiot, and I don't pay attention that much. I mean, they have Cardiac Yakimachuk. I probably said that wrong.
I
I
love
mean,
that
he
dude.
was their
Love him.
first round pick. He'll be good, but he probably needs a year or two to get ready for the
Yeah, I
NHL.
think he is still in this CHL.
Is he playing minors? Yeah, he's playing Calgary Hit. He had a good
Yeah,
year, 29 points, 24 games.
he's gonna be an absolute stud.
But he's another offensive puck moving defenseman,
Listen,
so
you
we'll
have
see.
Sanderson, Norris, and not why the fuck did I say Norris? Sanderson, Shabbat, and Yakimchuk there. Now, they already tried three puck moving defensemen with acquiring Chikrin. Didn't work out, but I think Yakimchuk is a whole lot better than Chikrin up to this point. So we'll see. We'll see. A 19, 20-year-old defenseman that will probably, I'm assuming he's going to crack the lineup at some point, if not the end of this season. I think he could. Leaving training camp next season. But we'll see. We'll see where that takes us. Maybe they send him down or put him back in the
Yeah, I mean, but
WHL.
Ottawa,
Who
like I
knows?
said, I think Ottawa's definitely a team I could see maybe adding at the deadline if they're still on play. I think they would specifically add a defenseman,
Yeah.
more of
Yeah.
a veteran, more defensive, more kind of hard hitting, stay at home defenseman. I think that would benefit them a lot, and I think it would also help their younger players learn a lot too.
Bringing a veteran presence and everything for them. I
Hmm.
mean, like, there's some shit like with bringing in a veteran presence that it's just like, oh, just for a locker room guy. I think bringing in a veteran presence into this room, like specifically for the blue line, will actually help this team in the long term. And I mean, I wish I could come off with a couple guys off the top of my head, but I'd have to do some research to see which guy would like fit the Ottawa Senators system and what guy I think they compare with whatever, which I'm kind of intrigued in now. But I mean, hey, listen, the Ottawa Senators, they're playing some great hockey, and I love to see it. And
I'm trying to look at what pending UFAs might be available
what do you
at the
think of?
deadline.
Actually, you know what? I'm doing an article right now. If for you listeners and viewers that don't know, about 6 players the Sabres should trade for. A guy that's on there that the Canucks are shopping, Vincent Desharnais. I think maybe Ottawa could go after somebody who you don't have to give up a ton of asses for. Just maybe a couple mid-round draft picks and maybe some depth piece, whatever, and bring him in to play. Like, I mean, I think he's 30. I could be wrong, but his defensive percentile is like in the 80s, I think, 70s or 80s.
Just looking at potential free agent defensemen, there's not a lot of great options to choose from that would realistically get moved. Like at the top, like Neil Pionk, he's not getting moved. Neither is
No.
Jacob Chikrin. I mean, Marcus Pettersson was a player that was rumored to be available for a while, but if Pittsburgh keeps playing better, I don't see them trading him either.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want Cody Ceci. I mean, maybe a veteran player like Ian Cole's available from Utah. There's some player that I just don't see teams moving right now. I mean, David Savard, I don't know if Montreal moves him either.
I'm sure there's
Alec Martinez might be an option from Chicago.
there's probably some Ottawa Senators fan that already said, "Oh, you know what? I think this guy could work out, or this guy." If there hasn't been though, if you guys are
Yeah, let
still,
us know. I mean, let us know what you guys think. I mean, especially if you're a Senators fan, what kind of player do you want your team to add the deadline if possible? I know it's an exciting prospect to be adding at the deadline. They did add a couple years ago when they traded for Jacob Chikrin, but that worked out really well.
that didn't really work out, and he gave up a lot. All right. So moving on to the Western Conference, we're gonna talk a little bit about the Edmonton Oilers, who are streaking right now. They're kind of in the same boat as the Ottawa Senators, and right now the Oilers are back up to that third Pacific spot. Last 10 games are 8-2. Granted, they did lose their last game to the Florida Panthers. I think was their last
Crazy
game.
game. Yeah.
Crazy game. I think they lost 6-5, whatever it was. But the Edmonton Oilers are motherfucking back. It was never a doubt that they were gonna falter at all. They were just Stanley Cup hangover. That's all it was.
I mean, Leon Draisaitl and McDavid are putting the teams on their back again.
They're going nuclear, yes.
I
Especially,
mean, their depth. I mean, Zach Hyman's up to 10 goals now. He needs to score a little bit more, but he's been better. Their depth still scares the shit out of me. And I
their
don't think
depth
their
is not
goaltending's good
good.
enough.
I'm sorry. The additions of Skinner and Arvidsson are backfiring in their face. I know it was they didn't really do like give up a whole lot, whatever. I think they both Skinner's on a 1 year, $3 million deal, and I think Arvidsson's on a 1 year deal. I think something like that. I honestly don't know. Like they're not playing good. You're not getting good play out of Nugent Hopkins or Hyman. At least not the how you're accustomed to seeing. Nugent Hopkins is heating up a little bit, but I mean,
Yeah, I think
dude.
they need more out of Evan Bouchard as well.
I kind of agree. I agree. And like Draisaitl and McDavid are single-handedly, like you said, putting this team on their back and carrying this team to
I mean, but you
wins.
expect that from them. They're two of the best players in the world. I mean, McDavid is the best player in the world, in my opinion. Two Hart Trophy winners. I mean, they should be carrying the team on their
I
back.
think Bouchard will get it going a little bit.
I mean, he's got. I mean, he's gonna be asking for a
I
lot of money this
but
summer,
like
and if he needs to start playing better, he's not gonna get paid.
yeah, okay. I don't think he's playing bad necessarily. His expected goals above replacement's at 18, which is ridiculous, and his goals above replacement is only at about 5.5. So that shows me that he's getting a little bit unlucky. Like I get eventually you're gonna have to create the bounces to go your way yourself. Because you could be unlucky all season, but it doesn't matter if it doesn't happen on the score sheet. I think Bouchard will pick it up. I mean, if he picks it up, and if you get Hyman and Nugent Hopkins to keep playing, I guess better like they have been as of late, I think you're gonna be in a great spot. Like I don't like their depth at all, like you stated, but I mean
I mean, it's kind of hard for them because I mean they have so much cap tied to their top players, like Connor McDavid. Is who knows what he's going to get on his next contract? It's gonna be a blank checkbook, pretty much for him to get whatever he wants.
whatever he asks
But
for, he's gonna get.
that Darnell Nurse contract, I know we bring this up all the time. That's killing them. That contract.
Every time we talk about the Oilers, that's one of the one of the
But
things
it's
we bring
so
up.
bad though. It's 9.25 million for like a second pair defenseman.
I can't believe they signed him like he was gonna be their franchise defenseman.
I mean, he had a pretty good few years before he got the contract. I mean, the contract was a mistake. Maybe they probably paid a little bit more just because they're in Edmonton in Canada, but that contract is a killer.
It's rough for them, and it's gonna hurt them in the McDavid trade talks and Stuart and not really Stuart Skinner, but like Evan Bouchard, maybe Skinner. I don't fucking know.
I can't really see Skinner getting a lot of money right now. I don't even think they
3
extend him this
million.
summer.
I
He
think
still has another year on his contract, so they can push
they're
that
not.
back
Yeah, they're
another
not
year.
gonna. They're not gonna extend him. Like if he was playing lights out this season, I would totally extend him. But he's
Oh
not doing
yeah, I
that.
would get it done, but yeah, I mean, we'll see. The Oilers should make the playoffs. I mean, if he's phenomenal again in the playoffs, who knows what will happen?
I
But
wonder if it could be a situation where it's like, so obviously, if no matter what, I don't think they do an extension this summer. But if they make the playoffs and Stuart Skinner has a mediocre regular season again, but he
they
picks it
might
up,
trade him.
I mean that's an option. But if they don't trade him, if they go into the playoffs and he plays stellar again, he plays lights out, he turns it on. I wonder if Skinner will go into his talks if this keeps happening. It's like, listen, I know I've been mediocre in the playoffs. My numbers aren't where you'd like them to be. But when we get in the playoffs, I'm fucking stellar, I'll tell you. Like, that could be a thing, too. Like, if you're Edmonton, you're in a tough spot there, too, because what if Skinner goes into contract talks? I know this is like a year down the road, whatever, but I don't really care. Let's say it's contract talks with Skinner. He's like, listen, I want $5.5 million, whatever. And the Oilers like, are you fucking serious? And Skinner comes, listen, I know my numbers are mid at best or average at best in the playoffs. I'll save any puck that comes my way. These are my numbers. They're absolutely phenomenal. Like, I think I'm worth $5.5-6 million because I play my best hockey when it matters. That could be an option too if this keeps happening. Now, I don't think Skinner's gonna repeat what he did in the past playoffs because he just randomly found his game. Like at one point, he was benched in the middle of the Dallas series. So I think that kind of flipped the switch in him.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see with Skinner. I think Bouchard's contract is up after this season, right? Or is it next season?
Say that again?
Is Bouchard's contract up after this season or next season?
He is an RFA at the end of the year.
Okay. Is he arbitration eligible?
He is.
That's going to be rough. That's going to be rough for the Oilers. Oh, man.
Like I said, if only you weren't paying Darnell Nurse $9.25 million.
If you're paying him $3 million less, you're in a great spot, in my opinion. Like, truthfully.
So are you going to have, like, is Bouchard going to get like 10 million plus?
He's asking he's expected to get $11.5 to $12 million on the next deal.
So you're going to have Draisaitl getting 14, McDavid for now getting 12.5. Who knows? I can see him getting up to $16 million on his next contract.
I've said that you can't build a winning hockey team by giving 4 guys $40+ million. They're going to be giving 3 guys $40+ million and 4 guys $50 million.
But you have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, though.
I get that. I think the more of the problem is you need to learn how to build a team around those guys rather than, we're just going to rely on them. Like the Devils are doing it where they're paying their guys $32 to $35 million for, I think, 4 guys.
Jack Hughes is on a very team-friendly contract,
$8 million.
though. I remember when he signed that contract, everyone was clowning the Devils.
People called them idiots.
I mean, he did not have a good first couple of years in the league. Like he looked like a bust.
He was a late bloomer. That's all it is.
Yeah, he was a late bloomer. I mean, yeah, he was. But now that contract looks like a bargain.
He was a first overall pick. Like people are gonna label him a bust if he doesn't score in his first game.
I mean, by the time paying Timo Meier 8.8, Jesper Bratt at 7.8, I think is a steal.
Steal.
I still think Jesper Bratt is one of the most underrated players in the league. I still don't think he gets enough love.
Every time we talk about the Devils, Jesper Bratt comes up. He's the most underrated player in the entire National Hockey League. Truthfully, I truly believe that. That dude's a game changer. He would be he's one of those guys that's going to put up 100 points and nobody's going to say a word about it. It's ridiculous. Love him. That's going to end it for today's episode. If you guys enjoy all of our content, all of our socials are down below, as well as the subscribe button. If you guys are over on Apple and Spotify, head over to YouTube for more exclusive content and subscribe there as well. We'll see you guys in our next episode.